You sent me a post
Mm-hmm.
from Shade Room, right? That's what it was.
I think it was Shade Room. Yep.
Yep, Shade Room. I didn't even need to squint for that. You sent me a post by Shade Room. It's
Yep.
two people discussing Netflix and chill as the first date, and one person is trying to push for it, and the other person says no, they're not with it. They try to compromise, that doesn't work out, and so the other person who was not really feeling it says, "No worry, man. Stay blessed. Adios." They chuck up the deuces and they get up out of there, which is the smart move. So the conversation we said we were gonna have is Netflix and chill on the first date. Are we for it? Are we against it? I'm gonna be very honest. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, so the key piece to this, I felt, um, the key piece in the conversation was that the person who said, and I believe it was a guy and a girl, and the guy was pushing for the Netflix and chill, and he says the reason why he doesn't want to go somewhere is because he doesn't like to go out in public with women on the first date. He likes to get to know them first before he goes out in public with them.
That's
So
what he
I
said.
just I just want to point that out because I think that that is a key thing to that specific conversation. I know we're going to pull it away from that and speak more generally, but that was a key piece to that exchange that those two people had. And her response was, "Well, I don't really like that idea. I don't like the idea of you coming to my home or me going to your home. Why don't we find a compromise?" She was willing to, and then he basically says, "No, that's what I want to do." And she's like, "Okay, well, fine. Then we'll just go our separate ways."
Yes.
I just wanted to point out that I think that makes a difference here in if we're talking about what was said in that conversation.
Got it. Well, I think I mean, I don't know if it was a man and a woman, but I think the person who was pushing for Netflix and chill was lying. I don't think this was about knowing people before a first date, because a first date is usually purposely not at somebody's house. It's usually in a setting where you meet the person somewhere in a mutual space, so both people feel safe, and you can get to know them in a less confined space. Um, so I think that part is pretty clear. I think that person who was pushing for the Netflix and chill either had ulterior motives, like they did want to, you know what I mean? Uh, they did want to try to lead it to physicality, even though they said they were not, or they didn't want to spend no money on these hoes. You know what I'm saying? As they say. But my problem
Or
with
number
that
three,
is, yeah,
number three could have been to endanger this person's safety because
sure,
we don't know, right? So I think number three is hanging out there too. Like, there are people who will coax you to meet them. Maybe you met someone online and they coax you to meet them and they're not who they say they are and they're not a safe person to be around. There are situations that happen like that too. So, you know, that was
yeah,
kind of the third, I guess that's the outlier there. But yeah.
sure, yeah. I mean, that one didn't really come to my mind, but yes, that's also possible. I think the whole thing is, I see multiple things. I see one, we don't know the context of how long they have known each other and been talking.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes before a first date, but it seems like they met online, because he said, I didn't see any pictures besides the pictures that were there. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't send me any other pictures. Sometimes when you meet somebody online or on a dating app, you might be talking for a long time before you meet up. So I know personally, I've been in situations where Netflix and chill, quote unquote, was the first date, but we were both comfortable because we were talking for so long that we built a rapport and felt like we both feel safe, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
as much as women speak about men setting them up and putting them in unsafe situations, as a man, I don't know what the hell is going on at your house either, right? So if I go on a first date to a woman's house, and most people would think, oh, but you're going to a woman's house, it's safer than her coming to your house. I don't know that. I don't know where she lives. I don't know what her living situation is. I mean, this woman could have a husband living in the house with her, unbeknownst to me. You know what I'm saying? All type of stuff. I could be getting got. You know what I'm saying? Especially, there have been circumstances where that has happened as well. There are even celebrities who we know stories about who they'll go to a woman's house and it was a setup. So Netflix and chill is usually not the first date for all of those reasons. But I will say on the flip side, I have been in situations, and I know people have been in situations where it felt right, it felt okay. Both people felt comfortable doing it because they built a rapport. They have been speaking for whatever time they both felt was an adequate amount of time for them to go
Mm-hmm.
and do this thing and not feel any way about it.
Mm-hmm.
But is that the typical situation? Not really. So this is the other perspective where a first date usually is public for all of the reasons that we're saying, right? So people do feel
Right.
comfortable, do feel safe. You can get to know each other without certain pressures of, oh man, maybe this person is going to try to pressure me into doing this or pressure me into doing that. Do I leave? What time do I leave? All these different things, right? And so I also see that side where it's like, well, typically a first date is not me coming to your crib or you coming to my crib. It's more like, let's go somewhere that's an open space, somewhere where, neither person can wild out but so much. You're not going to be breaking everything in the restaurant, but you could easily come to my house, get upset, and try to break everything in my house, right? So it also is kind of a protocol in place for people to have to, not maybe a protocol, but safeguards in place. So people are kind of behaving as well, right? And so, if we're at a bar or a cafe or even walking in the park, there are other people in a certain distance where if I feel unsafe, I can navigate one way or
Right.
another. So I
Yep.
see both sides. I think if we had more context, for this specific situation, it will be helpful. It does
Mhm.
seem like they don't have much of a rapport. It seems like they kind of just met, but we don't know that to be a fact, right? I'm
Right.
inferencing based on the screenshots that we saw. But I could be absolutely wrong. I do think that it is circumstantial or situational, kind of the same thing. I think situations and circumstances kind of dictate what feels good or does not feel good.
Mhm.
And generally in dating, I think comfortability is what matters probably the most, right? If someone is telling you, like the person in the text message is saying, I'm not really comfortable with that, then I wouldn't keep pushing. It's not really
Right.
smart or safe to keep pushing, especially in today's climate, because even if the person did go to your crib, now they could say, well, you kind of made me come here, which is bullshit. But in today's climate, why open yourself up to that? It's
Right.
better to kind of compromise and see, and you get more bees with honey. You know what I'm saying? Like
Of course.
trying to sway the person to do something they don't want to do. I don't know. Personally, my philosophy is in dating, I always want the person to be comfortable, right? Whatever the circumstance is, I always want it to be consensual and I always want them to be comfortable. And I'm not just talking about sex, just anything. Like if we going to get ice cream, I want to make sure, hey, you cool with getting ice cream? I don't want to just be like, yeah, we walking in the Haagen Dazs right now. Let's go. Get in Haagen Dazs. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
I hear you. I thought a few things with this.
Hmm.
Um, I think the reason why I said what the person said about I don't go out in public with women before I get
Spend
to
one
know
on one
them
with them.
or spend time with them, whatever, however they phrased it. I just thought that would what it doesn't to me that didn't make any sense, but I thought it was relevant because it was their reason for doing the Netflix and chill period. Now,
Hmm.
I agree. I think it depends on how comfortable you are. I think in terms of safety, it's the least ideal situation to be in because you don't know what you're walking into. You don't know if the place you're going to is unsafe. You don't know if there will be other people around, or maybe there won't be other people around, and maybe that is the problem. Um, Listen, people have much in their homes at their disposal that they can do harmful things to you with, right? There's
Right.
knives, there's this, there's that. And again, I just feel like anyone who is super adamant about not, it's like you said, like someone who is unwilling to compromise, I have to assume that that person has some sort of ulterior motive, and I don't know what that ulterior motive is. It could be sex, but it also could be something worse,
Right.
which
It could be Dahmer.
right, and that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Dahmer
If
was
you're
out here
gonna
saying, we're
press
just going to watch a
me,
movie. Relax.
right? If you're gonna press me about coming to your house to watch movies, it's like weird. Also, again, to your point, level of comfortability. And I don't even think it matters whether they met online or not. You meet people out and about all the time and you don't know them. You just meet them. So it could very well be that, they met, they were out, maybe they went to the club, maybe they, met in the grocery store. It wouldn't really matter. They still, if they don't have some sort of rapport with one another, there's no, where does the comfort come from?
Right.
I think that there are people who you meet in life where you kind of just take to their spirit, and you maybe connect with them in a deeper way than you would connect normally with anyone else. And that might guide you to do things that you might not normally do. Again, I would never encourage anybody to go and hang out at someone's house when they didn't really know what the situation was or the circumstances were, or they didn't have a lot of knowledge of who this person was. But I've done some things on first dates that I probably shouldn't have done. So I'll
Right.
be I'll be the first one to admit that you don't always you don't sometimes you get swept up in it, whatever it is, and you do things that maybe might be out of character for you, or just that maybe I'm living on the edge right now, but I'm gonna do it
Right.
anyway. um you know as I get older, I think I'm a little bit more sensitive to those things. I don't do not not inclined to be reckless, but I totally understand, like, okay, this person seems safe, so I'm gonna do this. I mean, people have sex on the first date and don't think, you know, that it's gonna turn into an unsafe situation. Maybe they should think that way just to be cautious.
Right.
But yeah, you never know. My problem is, what the fuck does it mean that you don't go out in public with what what does that mean? I don't go out in public
It
with
means he
people
don't, it
before I
means he
know
doesn't want
them.
to be seen with women. It means he doesn't want to be seen with women he don't think fit a certain criteria.
But then don't date them. Don't go on any date with them. If you can't be
Yeah.
seen in public with them, that just, to me, that sounds silly and immature. And like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I agree with that because I mean, sure, you're not going to take them to the family function or the spot that maybe all you and your people go to every time. But you could find a cafe, a diner, a bar somewhere that you don't frequent, your peoples don't frequent, if that's the worry. Because I mean, if you think you're that much of a hot shit that everybody's gonna sweat you because oh man, I saw you out with Dash. What are you doing out with Dash? Oh my god! If you think you that fly, cool. But number one, you probably not that fly. And number two, you could go anywhere. Like if it's like, hey, me and my peoples always go to Harley Quinn Diner, then don't take that person to Harley Quinn Diner. To go
Right.
to a random Starbucks in Timbuktu, like it doesn't have to be those spots. You could find a spot that, oh yeah, or even a spot that neither one of you have been to. Yo, I never been to, the Hammer Cafe. You ever been to the Hammer Cafe? Nah. All right, let's check out the Hammer Cafe. I hear they got, lavender lattes. Let's check it out.
Which also makes things interesting.
Right.
Sometimes that is the thing that you end up getting to connect on and find some common ground on. Oh, neither of us have been to this place. This seems really interesting. Now
Right.
you're kind of exploring something new together, which can be exciting on a
Yeah.
date.